This special JCN tribute to the life and legacy of the late Rupert Roberts is brought to you by the following sponsors: Super Value, the Caribbean Bottling Company Limited, JBR Building Supplies, Tops Lumber and Plumbing, Pioneer Bright, Thompson Trading Company, Aquapure, Bahamas Waste, the Dalbinus Agency Limited, Blanco Chemicals, Brown's Boat Basin, Darville Packaging, Battery and Tire Specialists, Asa H. Pritchard Limited, iScape Networks, The Rum Cake Factory, Easy Light Native Charcoal, Net and Uncle Jay's Wholesale, and AFS Insurance Brokers and Agents.
Good evening and welcome to a special Jones Communications Network tribute to the life and legacy of the late Mr. Rupert W. Roberts Jr., OBE. The Bahamas has lost one of its most prominent and successful businessmen. This evening, as we go throughout our program, we will hear from persons who will speak to the lasting impact and legacy of Mr. Roberts over several decades in the Bahamian business community and the many lives that he touched through his philanthropy. You will now hear from Mr. Ettrick Boak.
Rupert Roberts was a good guy. We became friends during the protests concerning the direction change of the Blue Road and the surrounding roads. He was very courageous. He impressed me a lot back then because he was not afraid. He took stands that were not good for business, not good for him, but he stood up. When others hid, he stood up, he stood firm. During that period, we spent a lot of time together and we talked about a lot of things he shared, and I was grateful for a lot of things that he shared. He had a lot of wisdom with respect to business, and he was really a global business person, but more than that, he understood the purpose for money, and he understood the purpose for business people with money. He shared that we are really custodians of the wealth, not really owners of the wealth, because you can't own something that's going to be here after you're gone. Rupert was successful, and he shared a lot of his success principles. I remember very clearly that he made it very clear that he was not lucky, he was not blessed. He had a formula for success that he applied day in, day out, and it worked. And that formula I will share with you now. He had three success principles: service, service, and service. He focused on service and he pushed service, and he was committed to service. He was apparently very generous to the people who worked with him. He had this principle of people care when they share. So he would also always share the increase in earnings with employees. Rupert and I often talked about things like toxic charity. Although he was very committed to charity, he was also very aware of toxic charity. Like, he would not just give you things, even though he could. He would not just give you things. He would show you opportunities, guide you to opportunities, which if you chose to take advantage of, then you could benefit. So he was very good in that regard, and I respected him for that. Rupert had a strong commitment to the children of the Bahamas. I've seen situations where people were basically, in my view, abusing his generosity, abusing him personally, but at the same time appealing to him for assistance, and children were involved. He asked, well, what should he do? I said, but Rupert, they're trying to destroy you. He says, yeah, but what about the children? We can't deny the children. And he acted on that principle that you can't deny the children. So he was very generous and instrument in helping causes that impacted young people. He did some things that advanced the cause of young inner city Bahamians persistently. And I expect that I should see that Super Value would probably continue those things. But he made ongoing contributions to the lives of young people. If you check a lot of business people, they went through the Super Value system. And Super Value has one of the best systems for developing entrepreneurs in the Bahamas. You know, I saw his parking boys one day, and I was very surprised. At the beginning of the shift, the managers had them all together, and they were lined up, and before they started work, they prayed. And that was the thing too about Rupert. He had a lot of faith. You know, he told me one time that he doesn't worry about getting back at anybody, because whenever somebody does something to them, for some reason, something happens to them. And he had that faith and that conviction, so he didn't need to be vindictive or spiteful. He just went about being Rupert, a very, very unique character and personality in the Bahamian community. The first time I encountered Rupert personally, we approached him about Super Value joining the Carmichael Business League. We formed the Business League to improve security in the Carmichael area. And smaller businesses who did not have enough resources to provide for their own security. Some of them were stenching and holding off. But when I walked into Rupert's office and spoke to him, he spoke to the secretary and said, get him a check. And they paid the check, they joined the membership, and he told me, you know, Commonwealth Bank will be joining also, so speak to them. So they became one, and that made a very big difference in causing the Carmichael Business League to move forward. He supported right away without question, because he saw the vision that if we act together, we're able to accomplish so much more. And even though they might have been financial giants compared to the rest of us and were able to take care of their own security, they understood that our security was linked to his security. Up until this point, you know, I've been saying all these things about Rupert and business, and everything sound very serious, but Rupert was a fun person to be around. As a matter of fact, very clearly, Rupert said to me once that when you start having fun, you start to win. We found that to be true as we moved through the road direction change case. We actually went to court, and we won the court in the case in the Supreme Court. It was overturned in the appeals court, and we were supposed to go to the Privy Council, where we were quite sure we were going to win, but for circumstances we never got to the Privy Council. But it was quite an adventure. We had Rupert from Government High, we had Arnold Hasty from Government High, we had myself from Government High, and our lawyer, he was also from Government High. So it was a team of Government High alumni from very, very different years. I think Hasty and I, we were the closest together. We were maybe 2 years apart, a year or two apart. But, you know, Rupert and the lawyer, they were adults when we were children. But in the end, when we look back at it and come into the ending part of it, we were actually having fun. We were having fun. We were having fun. We were doing a good thing. We were having fun. So my theory really is Rupert is still here with us, and I prefer to refer to him in the present tense, because as we go through this life, a little bit of us keep going off into the people we encounter and the people we share with. So all of us who Rupert shared with, a little piece of Rupert continues to exist in all of us. And when we come together and we share, we speak, we still have Rupert with us. So it was a good ride. Rupert served his time. He finished the race, and he finished the race with dignity and honor. And if there's one sentence I could say about Rupert, is he was a good example. And that's what I have to say about my friend Rupert Roberts.
We will now hear from Mr. Fred Mitchell, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I want to, first of all, extend my condolences to the family of the late Rupert Roberts, and I want to thank them really for kindly including in the public notice that they sent out in the obituaries about his passing, to thank me for stopping in on 2 occasions when we were both patients at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. It was really a joyous occasion, and I always make it a point, if I'm somewhere in some remote place and there are other Bahamians around, I try and make contact with those Bahamians. I'd only heard about him. He is a good friend of my brother Ian, who talked about him quite a lot. But I only heard about him as a kind of historic figure. I knew that he was a successful business person, that he had started out working for Stafford Sands and then later separated from Stafford Sands and then built his own business. And at the end of the day, he was in fact the most powerful food business in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So it was important for me to go see him as a Bahamian overseas. We had a wonderful time, met his wife. It was a joyous occasion, met all of his family members, his daughter, his granddaughter. It was simply a great time. And so I want to thank them for that again, and also to say how our country is better off for the work that he did, for the investment of his business, for all the things which he did privately and publicly to help the Bahamian people. And we send him to God with our best wishes and say, may he rest in peace.
We will now hear from Mr. Matt Aubrey.
Today I want to take a few minutes to pay tribute to a truly remarkable Bahamian, a man whose impact reached far beyond business and whose generosity quietly touched countless lives. Rupert Roberts, Bahamas businessman and philanthropist. Like so many of us, we knew Rupert Roberts as the man behind SuperValue. We knew him as an entrepreneur, a businessman, and someone who helped shape modern retail in the Bahamas. But for those of us at the Organization for Responsible Governance, we had the privilege of knowing another side of Rupert, the side that was never looking for recognition or applause. For more than 10 years, Rupert faithfully served as a member of the org board from the beginning of our organization. He believed deeply that the Bahamas deserve strong institutions, honest leadership, engaged citizens, and good governance. He believed that organizations like org had an important role to play in helping to build a country where fairness and accountability and opportunity could flourish. Those beliefs were not simply words. Rupert lived them. He was our longest-serving board member and our longest and most consistent supporter. Through every season of org's journey, from our earliest days to where we are today, he stood with us. Many people will never know just how much he gave. There were moments when org faced financial uncertainty. Like many not-for-profit organizations, there were times when funding was delayed or unexpected challenges arose. Rupert never sought attention for stepping in. He simply asked for what was needed and then quietly made sure we could continue our work. He understood that if you believe in a mission, you don't just encourage it, you invest in it. And he did exactly that. There are people who build businesses. There are people who build organizations. And then there are people who build people. And Rupert did all three. I had the privilege of working alongside Rupert for the past 10 years, and I learned more from watching him than I probably ever could have from any training or business book. One lesson I'll personally carry with me from Rupert Roberts is that everything is about caring for people. Rupert treated everyone with dignity. It didn't matter whether you were a cabinet minister, a cashier, a volunteer, or someone walking through the door for the first time. He spoke to people with respect, he listened, he remembered names, he asked about families, he made people feel seen. And in a world where success can sometimes create distance, Rupert never lost his humanity. He reminded us that kindness is not weakness, that leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room, but often the calmest. At org board meetings, Rupert was thoughtful rather than forceful. He didn't need to dominate conversations. He spoke, people listened because his words carried wisdom, practicality, and genuine concern for what was best for the country. He believed that good governance was not an abstract concept. It was something that affected families, businesses, communities, and more importantly, future generations. Those values helped shape org over the last decade, and they will continue to guide us long into the future. In today's world, we often celebrate the visible acts of generosity. Rupert reminded us that some of the greatest acts are the quiet ones. The check written without an announcement, the phone call asking how he could help, the encouragement to give when things became difficult. The steady presence that simply said, keep going. And these moments rarely make headlines, but they are often what allows important work to continue. So at org, we are forever grateful that he chose to help us. On behalf of the board, the staff, the volunteers, and everyone who has been a part of org over the past decade, we say thank you. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for believing in good governance. Thank you for believing in the Bahamas. And most of all, thank you for showing us that success means very little unless it's accompanied by humility and generosity and compassion. So to his beloved wife, his family, friends, colleagues, and the many people whose lives he touched, we extend our deepest condolences and prayers. Rest in peace, Rupert. Thank you for everything.
We'll now hear from Bishop John Wesley Ferguson.
I am delighted to have been asked to say something on behalf of Mr. Rupert Roberts Jr., OBE, a great iconic Bahamian. I got to know this fine man, this gentleman, this quiet, humble Bahamian man. Many years ago, he heard about the Sunday school movement and how I had started a Sunday school, a community Sunday school in Woods Valley off Market Street. And he was very interested in the fact that I was able, along with my team, my family, to take something that normally happens in a four-wall and bring it within the reach of underprivileged and at-risk youth. And he always wanted to know how I did it and what fired me up to do it. And over the years, we've had many conversations about Sunday school and the Sunday school movement. And he also told me how he himself was almost molded by his Sunday school teacher growing up as a young boy, and how all the things that his Sunday school teacher taught him has made him what he is today and why he lived. But what really moved me more than anything else was when he said to me that our connection, our meeting had to be divine, because for some reason he always wanted to speak with someone who had that kind of spirit, that kind of attitude, and that kind of vision for what the Sunday school movement has done and did for him and what it can do for the nation. And fast forwarding, when I told him about our Sunday school rallies that we normally have, he said to me, well, I have to come to Sunday school rally. And I said, sir, well, you are invited. And he came. And I tell you, it was such a tremendous blessing to have Mr. Roberts in our presence, and he enjoyed coming, and he told all of his friends and associates, he told me, he said, I have to let my friends and associates know about this Sunday school, because this can't just stay here in Woodside. You have to do something about getting this all around the Bahamas. I said, so well, by the grace of God, I'll do my best. I'll tell everyone who needs to know about this movement. But he was so interested on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. He would call me and ask me, how is the Sunday school going? How is the children? What do they need? What can we do to make life better for them? How can we treat them to make them happy? And something that he did for many years, every Christmas, he would gather a group of them together, or he would tell us to get the group together, and he would take them to Kelly's in the mall, and he would have a party, and he would buy a gift for every child. He would make sure that they were all happy. And he did this for many years, along with the management there at Kelly's. And it was such a marvelous experience that it was almost like as the Christmas approached, the children always wanted to know, are we going in the mall to this Christmas? And he would make sure that happened. And every New Year's, he made sure that we have a Christmas dinner for the children, for Christmas, for the Sunday school children, and their not only the children, but for their parents. And he made sure this happened. This man, in my opinion, was not an ordinary thinking man. Even though he was humble, he did not look for any accolades. He did not go about blowing any trumpet to say who he is. He did everything that he wanted to do quietly. And I have no doubt that people like him, who have that like mind, have a special place in the heart of the Almighty, because Jesus himself said, inasmuch as you do it to the least of the brethren, you've done it unto me. And another thing that Mr. Roberts was always true to, not only did he say and talk about the Sunday school, but he came. One Sunday afternoon, he came. He and his wife, Mrs. Roberts, they calmly drove into Woods Alley, parked their vehicle, and walked in and sat down in Sunday school. I could not, it blew my mind to see a man who could have been doing anything he wanted to do on a Sunday afternoon, or be anywhere in the world he wanted to be on a Sunday afternoon, sitting down in this little Sunday school, relaxed, quiet, and enjoying the teaching. Words cannot adequately express the things and the many ways of expression of Mr. Roberts and how he went about doing things, not looking for any accolade. And that is one of the things that I admire about people who, they don't have to tell anyone what they do. They do what they have to do. They do what God commanded them to do, and they do it quietly. And it's amazing that a lot of these things and a lot of the stories about these people, you never hear until they would have passed. And I must tell you, I have no regrets. And I know that my connection with him, and our connection, I should say, Sunday school movement with him, was divine, like he said. And I extend my sympathy to his wife, Margaret, a wonderful woman, his children, Richard, Candy, and Judy, and also his grandchildren, great-grands, and indeed the staff of Super Value, where he made it sure that things were done the way it ought to be done. And we at Big Harvest Community Sunday School, my family and I, and all of the teachers who are associated with that Sunday school movement, we thank him for all that he has done for us, and that the Lord will receive his soul, and that he will be one of those persons whom receive their blessings.
You will now hear from Dr. Dwayne Sands.
It is still very difficult to believe that Mr. Rupert Roberts is no longer a part of us, that he has gone on to his glory. And I want to apologize to him and his family that, having promised to get him to 100 years of age, we didn't quite make it. This unlikely relationship, this unlikely friendship started, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 years ago. And I would say that perhaps one of the significant events was a realization that we shared a common view, which some say is a pretty conservative view. And that is that we both supported capital punishment for murder. Some unlikely characters: Rupert Roberts, Rodney Munker, Brandel McCartney, and Dwayne Sands shared a common view. And one day we decided that we would join together for a march, a public march in support of capital punishment. And so we met at Super Value on Carmichael Road, and we marched in the street for people from what would seem to be diverse backgrounds, diverse views. Rupert Roberts was the epitome of the Bahamian success story. He is somebody that came from nothing and was self-made. When he died, he was arguably one of the most successful and possibly one of the wealthiest Bahamians in the country. And yet, to know him, you would never, ever have a real understanding of his success, because he was just a down-to-earth person. The last time that we were together was actually at Curly's at Arawaki. We had conch fritters, and I had scorched conch, he had conch salad. I had a beer, he had a soda. And we managed to talk about life, talk about the cut behind that the Free National Movement had gotten in the last election, and talk about my future and his. He was with his granddaughter, Paige, who he seldom traveled without. Rupert Roberts built Super Value from the ground up. And if you look at the positioning of Super Value in the communities around New Providence, on East Street, on Nassau Street, in Centerville, at the corner of Mont Royal Avenue. Yes, there were Super Values in Winton and there were Super Values elsewhere, but the core stores, the tiny stores, were what epitomized the ethos of Super Value. When we spoke, he would talk about his concept of a better Bahamas, the things that we needed to do, and they transcended partisan party politics. They were about making the tough decisions to make this country better. He would bristle at price control. He would bristle at the idea even of the bread basket, because the bread basket had items on it that were not necessarily healthy for Bahamian people. For me to sit with somebody who was as accomplished as he was, always was somewhat disarming to me, because I could never quite understand what it was that he saw. But clearly, he seemed to believe quite a bit in me and my potential and my commitment to this country. And so I would say that I am grateful for the attention that he showed and for the support that he gave to me, particularly in my political career. As time moved on, our paths intersected and I became his physician. He suffered from some pretty serious medical challenges, some heart disease and other ailments that, despite his challenges, he soldiered on. I would have operated on him and also arranged for him to get care. And he would travel back and forth between the Mayo Clinic, where he had gotten health care for many, many decades, and back here to Nassau. It was a privilege to care for such a humble man and to have earned his trust. In his penultimate illness at Doctor's Hospital, he was in the intensive care unit, unbelievably ill. Despite that, his incredible strength allowed him to persevere. And once we transferred him to the Mayo Clinic, he recovered fully. This last admission, things didn't quite work out as well. And he came into hospital with some challenges, and despite his incredible drive, he did not make it. The country has lost a giant. Don't mind his diminutive size. He was a Bahamian patriot to the core. He believed in the promise of the Bahamas. He invested in the promise of the Bahamas. His legacy will hopefully live on, and I am certainly proud to call him my friend. Rupert Roberts, rest in peace. May you rise in glory. Well done, thou good and faithful servant.
We'll take our first commercial break on our program. We'll be right back.
Battery and Tire Specialists. The name says it all. The best in automotive, commercial, motorcycle, marine, solar, and backup power batteries. And the best tires for every type of vehicle imaginable. Specializing in Valvoline Motor Oil, the world's finest lubricant. Featuring premium C-Rex antifreeze coolants. And now our newest service, state-of-the-art digital wheel alignment and tire balancing. Battery and Tire Specialists, 7th Terrace and East Avenue, Centerville.
Your favorite products from wall to wall, we have it all at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets. Shop with confidence knowing you're saving when you're shopping the specials at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
This special JCN tribute to the life and legacy of the late Rupert Roberts is brought to you by the following sponsors: Super Value, the Caribbean Bottling Company Limited, JBR Building Supplies, Tops Lumber and Plumbing, Pioneer Bright, Thompson Trading Company, Aquapure, Bahamas Waste, the Dalbinus Agency Limited, Blanco Chemicals, Brown's Boat Basin, Darville Packaging, Battery and Tire Specialists, Asa H. Pritchard Limited, iScape Networks, The Rum Cake Factory, Easy Light Native Charcoal, Net and Uncle Jay's Wholesale, and AFS Insurance Brokers and Agents.
Welcome back to our memorial tribute to the life and legacy of the late Rupert W. Roberts, Jr. The management and staff of Asa H. Pritchard Limited extend the following statement. Asa H. Pritchard Limited pauses to honor a true pioneer, a visionary and an outstanding businessman, Mr. Rupert Roberts, Jr., the founder of SuperValue. For more than 60 years, Mr. Rupert Roberts, Jr. has been a cornerstone of the grocery industry, helping to shape the way families shop and businesses grow throughout our nation. Through dedication, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to excellence, he has brought both trusted local products and renowned international brands to our shelves, making quality and variety accessible to generations of customers. His vision has not only strengthened the retail landscape, but has also supported local entrepreneurs, created opportunities, and contributed significantly to our country's development. Asa H. Pritchard Limited is thankful for the partnership with and leadership of Mr. Rupert Roberts, Jr. and SuperValue over the decades, providing consumers with quality household brands in our community. His legacy is reflected in every family served, every business inspired, and every life touched along the way. Today we celebrate him and the extraordinary impact he has made over 6 decades. Thank you, Mr. Rupert Roberts, Jr., for your vision, your service, and your commitment to excellence. We will now hear from John Henry Bostwick II.
Absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to join today and share words about a gentleman who I considered multifaceted in my life, Mr. Rupert Roberts. Mr. Rupert Roberts was for me, I guess I'm honored to say, a friend, and privileged to say a mentor, who came into my life relatively late in life, and was a person who, over the past 4 years or so, had a monumental impact on me in everything that I am presently doing and things that I shall be doing going forward. The time spent with Mr. Roberts, as I said, was time spent in higher education. There was not a moment that I spent with him where I felt that I was not learning something of a profound and extremely beneficial nature to me in development as a person, as a business person, and as a professional, and even more so as somebody who has termed himself a born-free Bahamian nationalist. If anybody embodied the concept of being born free, it would be Mr. Rupert Roberts, and doubly so personified what it is to be a Bahamian nationalist. Again, it was Mr. Rupert Roberts. The freedom of thought, the strength of presence, the self of independence that comes only from 100% self-made man was refreshing and inspiring, and actually remains so to me. The knowledge that he shared and imparted, instilled, injected was and remains fundamental and at the foundation level of me. The ability to see through his eyes and through his very sharp and present memory, a memory that has spanned almost 90 years, and understand the Bahamas almost from its modern inception, from a man who would have been born and raised in Abaco, who himself is a Bahamian rooted on all sides of multiple generations, multiple generations, a loyalist, I would dare say a descendant of pirates. The stories that he told me about the boat building traditions of his grandfather in Man-O-War Key, Abaco, of the building of 3-mast schooners, of walking into the pine forests and picking trees, and from their shapes and their boughs, cutting those trees and felling those trees and taking them back to the boat sheds, and all the men coming together to build schooners and then to sail those schooners around the Bahamas, picking up loads of produce from as far away as Cat Island and Samana Keys, and sailing those produce and tomatoes and pineapples off to the U.S. East Coast. Such a knowledge, such a history, such an understanding, and of who we are, who we were as Bahamians, and who we can be as Bahamians going forward into the future. Never tied to the present, always pushing forward into the future was Mr. Roberts. And Mr. Roberts was a person who was unafraid to support those he believed in. And there are many people who claim to have support, who claim to support you, but they will support you in the quiet shadows and in those quiet whispering conversations at nighttime on the telephone. Mr. Roberts, when he supported you, he stood out in front of you as a shield and a sword, clearing the way for so many, not just the hundreds, 800 plus people who he employed right up to this day, but for literally dozens and dozens and dozens of Bahamian entrepreneurs who owe their very existence of their business and their present success to the support and the belief that they got from Mr. Rupert Roberts. A true national hero, unsung, who went to great extents in his business operations on a daily basis to foster the lowest prices that he could make available to Bahamians, to search the world, to search South America, to search the whole world, to search as far as the other side of the planet in the Southern Hemisphere and in Australia and New Zealand in order to find the best prices for Bahamians so that we could try to alleviate suffering here in the Bahamas. He knew the responsibility he carried and he accepted it. Many people run from their responsibilities, but Mr. Roberts walked into them. In ending, I can say that even as I work on projects that were enabled by him and work on materializing visions that were shared visions between he and I and many, I do so in the spirit of ensuring that one of the biggest dreamers that the Bahamas ever produced, that all of his dreams actually materialize and all of the things that he saw in his broad vision are made real and come into being. That his beloved government high school, the alma mater that he and my parents both share, is brought back to its former glory, and I remain committed to all that he and I set out to achieve and all that he believed and verbally gave his life to realize that the Bahamas could and should be as one of the best countries in the world with some of the best people in the world. So again, I give thanks and praise to the life, the legacy of a true Bahamian hero, a true born-free nationalist, somebody who I was honored to know privileged to work for and with, and to be mentored by Mr. Rupert Roberts. God bless him, his family, his beloved wife, children, and the masses of those he led to a better future. Thank you.
We will now hear from Mr. Eddie Carter.
Good day, my name is Eddie Carter, and firstly, on behalf of the entire Carter family, I wish to extend our heartfelt condolences to the Roberts family on the passing of Mr. Rupert Roberts. It is never an easy time when a family loses a loved family member, and we wish them all the well. I feel like I've known Mr. Roberts my entire life. I met Mr. Roberts through a friendship that he shared with my father, Charles Carter. How these two met, I do not know. How they became friends, I really do not know. But I think they became friends and admired each other, and I know they had a great respect for each other because of their love of the Bahamas and their love of Bahamians. They had a great working relationship that lasted decades, which is unusual in today's world. Friendship and business together. Mr. Roberts used to have those meetings at the old headquarters. That's where I first met him, which was in Palmdale, the old Super Value headquarters. For you youngsters out there, that'd be kind of where Pepper and Spice is today, where McDonald's is. For the older listeners out there, you would remember that famous ice cream place established when they used to be right across the street for the original headquarters of Super Value. I was actually born the very same year that Super Value was started by Mr. Roberts. Yep, me and Super Value are the exact same years old. I think they look a little bit better than me, I gotta say, but congratulations on that, and we'll talk about that more in just a bit. But the story of Super Value is something that we should cherish. It's a story that all Bahamians should enjoy telling and listening to. It's a story of how a hardworking Bahamian can grow a concept that can evolve into a mega successful business that is now celebrating 60 years of continuous operations. And folks, 60 years of operation is no small feat. I've worked for 3 companies my entire life, and collectively, those companies are not 60 years old. In 1965, as a matter of fact, when Super Value opened its doors for the first time, the average lifespan of a business, and I had to use US stats because I didn't have Bahamian stats, the average lifespan was 33 years. That's it, 33 years back in 1965. By the way, today, if you're interested, the average lifespan of a business is 18 years. Think about that. And then think about what an achievement it is for Super Value to be 60 years and still going. And this success, by the way, did not come by luck, not by fluke, and not by accident. Mr. Roberts didn't stumble into success. Don't be confused. Mr. Roberts was an extremely hard worker, and he was a very hands-on operation. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, he seemed to always be in the stores. I do not know how this man did it, but you could go into any store at any time of the day, and there was Mr. Roberts walking around. Honestly, the man must have had clones. It's actually the energy that he had for his business. It's, I think, a great lesson for other business owners out there. You know, if you have that love and that passion, which obviously he did, it drove him. And it drove him to be in those stores. Like the Energizer Bunny, Mr. Roberts just was in those stores and kept them going and going and going. Dad and Mr. Roberts would meet to go with those weekly specials. We all know about the famous Super Value weekly specials. They would sit in this big boardroom. I do remember this very well. And there'd be products spread all over the big boardroom table. There'd be spreadsheets all over the place, right? And they'd be sampling this stuff and they'd be going over numbers. Mr. Roberts had a true passion for the specials, right? He was really obsessed with finding a way to save Bahamians money on the products that Bahamians use the most. As a matter of fact, it's the huge success of those weekly specials and the loyalty of the customers that came from it that I think truly made Super Value the Bahamian supermarket. Nothing is better than a real good success story. Nothing is better for a community to hear about a real good local success story. And the story of Mr. Rupert Roberts, from Abaco to packing boy to entrepreneur, is a Bahamian story worth celebrating for all Bahamians. On a personal note, I will miss Mr. Roberts. Like I mentioned earlier, I was fortunate enough to get to know him through my father. When my father passed away, Mr. Roberts was somebody that I went to. Everybody in life needs somebody they can go to. For me, after I lost my father, it was Mr. Roberts. And of course, I admired the man. I was just so impressed at how a man could be so successful, how a man can achieve so much for all levels. We look at materialism so much and say, okay, this man achieved all that, but he never acted like it. He remained grounded. He remained strong in his family values. He was a great giver to the community, supported charities. He supported people who needed a helping hand, and he didn't ask for recognition to do this. But he did it from his heart because he loved Bahamians. And as we remember Mr. Roberts today, I want us to remember what he stood for. Honest, hardworking, family man, and a great Bahamian. If we could all take a little piece of that from Mr. Roberts' story, we will all be better Bahamians and have a better country for it. Rest in peace, Mr. Roberts.
We'll now hear from Mr. Raymond Winder.
I met Rupert Roberts through my former partner, McGregor Robertson. And McGregor introduced me to Rupert, who we call Junior. Here's my partner, Ray, who was a Sunday school teacher at Bethel Baptist Church. He was trained in Houston, Texas. Later on, I would learn why McGregor introduced me as a Sunday school teacher first. You see, everything about Junior, Rupert, was about trust and integrity. It didn't matter whether you were white or black, PLP or F&M, president of the company or the packing boy. He was committed to trust and integrity. And he would always say to me, Ray, your name is all you got, and it's the most important thing you have. Keep it. I always used to find it funny when he would hire a cashier or a packing boy. One of his favorite questions would be, he would ask, if I caught one of your colleagues stealing, what should I do? Now, if your answer was, Mr. Roberts, these are tough times, and I really think you should give him a break. Well, you were not hired. That was the wrong answer. I knew many persons who lost their job with him because they were operating another business using his platform to make it happen. And he didn't tolerate that. With him, there were very, very few second chances relative to trust. He would say, Ray, they are not of the same yoke we are. So we have to do one or two things. Either they're going to buy us out of this venture or we're going to buy them out. But we are no longer going to continue. So go calculate a price that we can buy them out or they can buy us out. One day he said to me, Ray, I have so many people coming into my office. He said, it's a shame, because if I had 20 more years left, I could do so many things in this country. But I have so many people coming in wanting to share new business ideas and new ventures, and I just don't have the time to really make an assessment. And I would like for you to make an assessment to determine whether this was something I ought to take a look at or not. And I said to him, Rupert, that sounds good, but I have a problem. I have two partners, McGregor Robertson and Franklin Wilson, and they go by what we call billable hours. And a lot of these new ventures, some of them turn into something and some of them don't. So he said, then what should we do? I said, well, let's make a retainer. You give me $3,000 a month as a retainer. And at the end of every period, we calculate plus or minus whether more hours were incurred or not. And we send a bill for the difference. He said, no problem. And that, as a professional, that was so incredible to me that a man of Mr. Roberts' status would have given me, because this was the first time in my professional career, this is back in the early 90s, an organization to have that kind of confidence to give me a retainer. And so I felt blessed in that sense. When I introduced them to Deborah Simonet, who was a former employee of mine, I said, Mr. Roberts, she's still growing and she's still learning, but one thing you can say about her trust is impeccable. She is someone you can rely on. And because of that, we see where Debbie is today. Mr. Robert was a national developer. See, a lot of persons may view Mr. Roberts as someone who made a lot of money, but let me assure you, Mr. Roberts spent millions of dollars trying to create new ventures for the Bahamas, create new employment. And to him, it was not a matter of the profitability, because I know of many ventures that he was involved with. And the signs were there long that that venture was not going to be a profitable one. And Junior would say to me, but Ray, let's give it another year. Let's give it another chance to see if we can really, before we decide to put it aside. And so he would carry businesses for years that were not showing a profit, simply because he wanted to do something different. He wanted to just not make money, but he wanted to create development. He wanted to create employment. And for him, he had no problem taking his profits to make that happen. It was always someone you could rely on if you were a business partner of him. Whether you were Commonwealth Bank, Bank of Bahamas, check card, paper pack, I can go on and naming the various businesses that he's been a part of. And all of them will tell you, at some point in time when the going was tough, he was one of those persons who had all confidence in the operation and was prepared to do whatever it took to make it happen. And so I say today, the Bahamas has lost a great pioneer. And to his family, my sympathy goes out to his wife, Margaret, and the children who were always there for him. And we, as a nation, have lost, in my humble opinion, one of the few Bahamians who have sought to use their wealth to make a difference in terms of making the Bahamas a better place. I know he's going on to a better place. Like all of us, we fall short from time to time. But his faith was strong. And as I said, trust was critical and it was important. And I am so happy that I had an opportunity to learn so much from him in terms of assessing people, and in terms of assessing ventures, and in terms of wanting to be a straight talker relative to the facts and issue, which were critical to him. Tell him the real story. Don't try to give him a side story. Thank you very much.
We will now hear from Mr. Clifton Fernander, Perishable Director, SuperValue Bahamas.
That's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us motivated.
and it all comes down from our founder, Mr. Roberts. Every day he is in the office, making sure that things are done right, things are done properly, and to make sure that we continue on the Super Value legacy, to put food on the Bahamian table at the best possible price. And then every day we come to work, we kind of do that. And for the past 60 years, we've been doing that. And 52 years, that as long as I've been there, that has been our number one goal every day. When Super Value first founded, Mr. Roberts started with one store. So one store will have just the basic aisles, probably a produce case, a meat case, and probably a dairy case. But over the years, from one store, then two, then three, and now we have 13 stores. So time have evolved where the industry has changed. Now you can see we have salad bars in our stores. Back then you didn't see salad bars. Now we have like a cut fruit section in our produce section. We have a nice deli bakery also too, which was added down the road because the industry has changed and it is changing. And so we have seen where we move from one era to a next era. To open one store now, 13 stores over the 6 decades, 60 years, and was able to keep the doors open, and also for him to live to see 60, his business open for 60 years and still be around 60 years is an accomplishment.
Right.
So I do applaud him for that. That I always keep it in the back of my mind. I always applaud him for that. But Super Value will grow and will continue to actually grow because of his legacy and because of his teaching. We have learned a lot from him, and he has set the ground, and I think it's going to continue. So Super Value will be around for another 60 years plus.
I believe many people would say that Mr. Roberts is perhaps the most successful businessman in our country to date. But in terms of what you glean and how he approaches business, specifically how he approaches the grocery business, what is it, I guess, that stands out about Mr. Roberts in terms of how he approaches management?
Well, I could tell you, he has a passion in all of his businesses he might have ventured into. I really believe Super Value is his baby. I really believe he has a passion for actually people. I believe he has a passion for seeing people grow, to actually bring them along, and he gives a lot, and so he really has a big heart. Many of you might not know him like Muslim and I know him, but he gives a lot, but he don't want to be seen. He's always behind the scene, but he really pours his heart out.
Right.
One of his accolades is that he likes to make sure that his customers is well taken care of. He always speaks about service, but it is true. He doesn't like to people or customers to come into Super Value stores and have a bad experience. He wants them to come into the store and have a good shopping experience that they want to come back. And that's the kind of environment that we have created through his legacy, mind you. And I think that's a legacy that's going to be with us for like a long time. Yeah, I do think Mr. Roberts would like to see the company move on and actually involve in changes in the supermarket business, as you know, and I think he's one of those who will make any changes, any new ideas comes along. He's open to talk about it, and he's open to implementing it, as long as it makes sense to the company and to the human people.
We will now hear from Mr. Wilfred Smith.
There are 5 areas I want to leave with the Bahamian people about Mr. Rupert Roberts. One is his love for his family, his love for his business, and his love for his Bahamas. The second area I want to talk about as it relates to Mr. Roberts' legacy is his request to our international partners and funders to access funding for other Bahamians in business, myself being one of them, and many other. The third area is Mr. Roberts' honesty, integrity, character, and doing things to the best of my knowledge, the right way. The fourth area that I need to dispel or make Bahamians aware of based on my experience about Mr. Roberts. There wasn't, in my experience, racism, discrimination, that black and white issue that may have been in other companies. I didn't see that in Mr. Roberts' company. And the fifth area that I wanted to speak about, Mr. Roberts, is the legacy beyond Mr. Roberts as it relates to his interests in his employees, his interests in the packing persons, and we'll expand on those legacy a little bit more, and his desire to see solutions as it relates to energy, housing. And he's opened the door in the medical space where one of our funders have committed substantial funding to addressing needs for Princess Margaret Hospital and the Bahamas. We're talking about, of course, the family would have to approve of this. I've been talking to some persons that have been impacted in a significant way by Mr. Roberts, creating a memorial or a statue of Mr. Roberts. If his family approves of that, that's part of the discussion we had. I could say a lot more about the honesty, the integrity, and the character of Mr. Roberts, but I want you to know from my experience, Mr. Roberts, the country has suffered a tremendous loss, but Mr. Roberts has left his style of business, ethics, character, integrity, and doing it the right way, as far as I'm concerned, in thousands of persons like me and packing persons from Super Value and his employees who he's impacted. So to Mr. Roberts and his family, thank you for lending him to us. May he rest in peace.
You will now hear from Mrs. Deborah Simonet, CEO, Super Value.
It was an honor to meet Mr. Rupert Roberts, this great man that I had heard so much about. But it was an even greater honor to work with him and get to know him. Working with him was something I regarded as a privilege. This humble man had started with one little store on East Street and ended up with a chain of 13 stores, all a part of a very successful business. A business which provides for the Bahamian people at the best possible prices, providing food, quality food at good prices. A business that employs over 1,000 people, and a business that gives back to the country at large in so many ways. Mr. Roberts was an exemplary businessman with a wealth of knowledge and skills. There was no area of his business that he was not familiar with, and he didn't get involved with. From purchasing to shipping, accounting, air conditioning, refrigeration, you named it, he covered it all. He also took time to know his employees. Not only did he know them, but he helped them in whichever way he could. The years that I spent under his wings allowed me to learn so much, and he was always willing to teach. Besides being a good teacher, he was also a good friend, a business partner, a father figure, a devoted husband, and in some cases, you may even say a savior, because he helped so many people that found themselves in dire straits. He was so many things to so many people. Mr. Roberts loved being in business, and hence he had his hands in a lot of them. He loved giving. He loved his family. He loved to laugh and tell jokes. And he loved God. During our times together, our conversations covered all of these topics and was always interesting, sometimes amusing, and usually inspiring. The day that I joined SuperValue is a day I will never regret. It's the day that I embarked upon a remarkable journey with a remarkable man. A man who will always be remembered and always be admired by myself and all those that met him and got the opportunity to know him. Rest in peace, Mr. Roberts. We will always love and cherish you.
You will now hear from Prime Minister Philip Davis in a tribute made to Mr. Roberts in the House of Assembly.
The Bahamas has lost one of its most prominent and successful businessmen who rose from the oppression of the oligarchs of the 60s to become one of the leading business persons in this country. That is in the person of Rupert Roberts. We got the word this morning that he passed. And I stand to speak to his memory. Madam Speaker, I would have met Rupert Roberts in or around 1963, 64, 62, 63, 64, when I was a packing boy at the City Market grocery store in the John S. George Shopping Center. He was first a supervisor working City Markets. Then he became the manager of that store whilst as a packing boy. He became my favorite supervisor because I got the privilege very often to be transported to the City Market store in Lightfoot Key, outside Lightfoot Key, where the tips were better. And I always remember that. And again, Madam Speaker, the journey of some of our people. And we often, unfortunately, there's this view that the oligarchs treated a sect of our society in a particular way. But that's not true. All Bahamians were treated in a particular way. I just refreshed my memory the other day of the story of what's that name? The school from Cherokee South, Patrick Bethel. I just refreshed my memory on the life and times of Patrick Bethel, who wrote about his schooling at the all-age school in Cherokee South. He spoke about the conditions under which he found himself at that time. And they were no different than my conditions when I went to the all-age school in Old White Island. He was a white Bahamian, treated the same way as me, black Bahamian, in Old White Island. You should take a note and read his autobiography, and you'll see when I say that. They too had to leave school at the age of 12 or 13. There are no high school for them to go to either. So they don't treat it any differently. And so when we posited this artificial divide between black and white in this country, I call it artificial, superficial. It's only put in the mind, perpetrated by selfish persons who want to promote their own selfish agenda. Rupert Roberts is one of those persons who came from that background and was a successful worker in that grocery business for the then City Market. It was then owned by one of the oligarchs along with a foreign entity. And he was very successful. But then again, the story of that separation story of the separation of Mr. Roberts from City Market one day should be told. But he did not allow that disappointment of that separation to keep him down. And so he gloried in the fact that majority rule came in, and that he and all Bahamians had the ability to move and excel and invest their talent to be whatever they wish to be in this country. And that's what he did. That was under the Progressive Party after the majority rule, and hence where he is today. Many acknowledge it, but many don't accept it. But that's a fact of life. But Mr. Rupert became the successful businessman. He did not forget his roots. And his philanthropy and his assistance in social matters for this country is legendary. Though it was not publicized as much as many others, he did much for our inner city and people in inner city that I'm aware of. And I'm grateful for his life. I'm grateful for the model he has left behind. And I trust that someday someone will tell his story if he hasn't told it yet. But to his daughter and Kathy and Katia and the rest of his family, I express my condolences on behalf of the government and the people of Bahamas and Mrs. Roberts for his contribution to this country and this nation, and demonstrating that it's not how you start in life and not the circumstances in which you find or to determine your destiny or where you end up. And that is the perfect model in the life of Rupert Roberts.
Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, we thank God for the gift and inspiration of Mr. Rupert Roberts throughout his long life in business, in philanthropy, and encouragement of his fellow man here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Throughout our program, you've heard persons express and share fond memories of Mr. Roberts that surely will live on in the extended memories of all those who have been touched by his generosity. We thank you for tuning in to our program this evening, and we wish you a good night.
This special JCN tribute to the life and legacy of the late Rupert Roberts has been brought to you by the following sponsors: Super Value, the Caribbean Bottling Company Limited, JBR Building Supplies, Tops Lumber and Plumbing, Pioneer Bright, Thompson Trading Company, Aquapure, Bahamas Waste, the Dalbinus Agency Limited, Blanco Chemicals, Brown's Boat Basin, Darville Packaging, Battery and Tire Specialists, Asa H. Pritchard Limited, iScape Networks, The Rum Cake Factory, Easy Light Native Charcoal, Net and Uncle Jay's Wholesale, and AFS Insurance Brokers and Agents.